The clock above the front desk ticked steadily toward closing, its rhythmic tapping echoing softly through the old Oak Ridge library. Sarah Sanders placed another stack of books into the return cart, humming to herself as she worked the late shift she'd volunteered for. Most evenings were quiet, so quiet she could hear every page turn, every whisper of movement. And then there was him. The door creaked open at exactly 9:07 p.m., as it had every night for the past 3 weeks. Boots dusted with dirt, hat pulled low, a silence that followed him like a faithful dog. Leonardo Hale, though she only knew his name from overheard whispers, stepped inside. The tall cowboy nodded politely before heading for the same corner each night. He picked up a book, usually upside down, and sat at the far table where the lamp glowed warmly. Sarah had noticed the little details. He never actually turned the page. His eyes didn't move, and when she'd walked by once, she caught the cover Advanced Ocean Navigation in a landlocked town with no lakes. Tonight, she decided she'd had enough of pretending not to notice. She approached slowly, clutching a feather duster for courage. "Need help finding something to read?" she asked, trying not to sound amused. Leonardo jolted, nearly knocking the lamp over. "No, ma'am, just reading." She raised an eyebrow. "Is that so?" He cleared his throat, flipping the book right side up. "Yup, love. Sailin'." Sarah couldn't help it. She laughed before she could stop herself, a soft giggle that warmed the quiet room. His ears turned red beneath the brim of his hat. "All right," she said, leaning on the back of the chair. "Why don't you tell me what you actually came here for?" Leonardo stared at the book, as if it might rescue him. Then he closed it gently and stood. "Truth is, I ain't much of a reader, I noticed." He swallowed. "And I guess I ain't subtle, neither." "Nope," she smiled, "but honest is a good start." He met her eyes. For the first time, she saw something soft behind that stoic, cowboy quiet admiration, maybe even nerves. "I just like seeing you work," he said. Didn't know how to say it without sounding foolish. Her heart fluttered. "I think it sounds kind of sweet." A slow smile spread across his face, the kind that seemed rare for him. "Then maybe I'll come back tomorrow, and maybe you can help me pick something out to actually read." She nodded. "I'd like that." The clock chimed, closing time, as he walked out. And Sarah closed the front door, with a blush on her cheeks she couldn't quite hide. For the first time in a long while, the library didn't feel lonely at all. The next night, Leonardo arrived a few minutes early, as if eager yet embarrassed to show it. Sarah was reshelving a cart of novels when he walked in, hat in hand, like a schoolboy. "You're early," she said. "That's a good sign." "Means I'm nervous," he replied honestly. She tried not to smile too widely. "Well, tonight's lesson is simple. Picking a book you'll actually enjoy." Leonardo frowned. "You sure you got books about fixing fences and chasing cattle?" "Plenty," she teased. "But I think you might surprise yourself." She guided him down the aisles, watching his eyes drift over the shelves. He stopped at a book with a worn spine and a faded cover depicting a cowboy staring across a lonely valley. "What about this one?" he asked. Sarah's smile grew. "The Quiet Rider. It's about a man who doesn't say much, but feels a lot. Sounds familiar." Leonardo pretended to examine the book instead of her knowing smirk, but his cheeks reddened. They sat in the back corner, the same warm lamp glowing above them. She helped him sound out a few lines, realizing quickly he struggled more with confidence than comprehension. His voice was deep, rugged, and soft, at the same time like wind rustling through tall prairie grass. At one point, he froze. "Sorry," he said quietly. "Ain't used to feeling stupid." "Hey," she whispered, touching his hand gently. "You're learning? That's brave, not stupid." He didn't pull away. In fact, he seemed rooted by her touch. "You really think so?" he murmured. "I know." "So," he exhaled, a tension leaving his shoulders. For a moment, silence held them, not awkward, but tender. "Read this line," she said softly, pointing slowly. He did, a little shaky, but steadying. When he finished, she clapped lightly. "See, You can do this. He grinned proudly. The boyish kind of smile she didn't expect from a man like him. Reckon I can. They read together for nearly an hour, the quiet library filled with warmth instead of emptiness. When closing time arrived, he walked her to the door. Why do you stay here so late? He asked quietly. Because this place feels like home, she said. And because some people make it worth staying. His breath caught. Sarah, you do something to me. She froze, heart racing. Like what? Like Mackin, a cowboy. Think about more than just fences and cattle. The lamplight reflected in his eyes, and Sarah realized she wasn't the only one who'd been waiting for these moments. Good night, Leonardo, she whispered. Night, Sarah. Neither of them wanted to walk away. The following week brought heavy rain over Oak Ridge. Thunder shook the windows, while lightning illuminated the dusty streets. Sarah almost canceled her late shift till she saw him. Leonardo burst through the library doors, soaked to the bone, dripping across the polished floor. Storm's bad, she said, rushing to hand him a towel. Didn't want to miss Redden with you, he answered simply. Her heart pulled tight. You could have gotten hurt. I'll take rain over regret. She stared at him, stunned. He truly meant it. They retreated to the back table, where the familiar lamp glowed. She made him tea, which he accepted shyly, like no one had ever done something so gentle for him before. Libraries, cozy in a storm, she said. Only 'cause you're in it, he said, without hesitation. She swallowed, cheeks warming. You're getting bold, cowboy. Learned it from a librarian who ain't afraid to speak her mind. Thunder rattled the walls, but neither flinched. They read, laughed, shared tiny pieces of their lives. Sarah told him she'd always dreamed of being a teacher. Leonardo confessed he'd left school early to work the ranch when his father got sick. I never had someone patient enough to sit and teach me, he whispered. You do now. Lightning flashed, the power flickered and died, plunging the library into darkness. Sarah gasped. Leonardo immediately reached across the table and took her hand. It's okay, he murmured. I'm right here. The emergency lamp clicked on faintly, bathing them in soft amber. Their hands remained intertwined. Leonardo, she whispered. Yeah. Why did you really come here the first time? He inhaled slowly. Saw you through the window one night. All alone in here. Looked peaceful, kind, like someone I wanted to know. Sarah's chest tightened with emotion. I'm glad you walked in. He brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. Darlin', I don't think I'm ever walking out. The storm roared loudly, but inside the library, something quiet and powerful settled between them. Something deeper than admiration. Something dangerously close to love. The storms passed, but the intensity between them didn't. Leonardo arrived earlier each night, sometimes helping Sarah with closing duties. He lifted heavy boxers, repaired a squeaky window hinge, even fixed the loose porch board outside the entrance. Cowboy multitasking, she teased, just making sure the place you love is taken care of. One evening, Sarah found him waiting outside before she even opened the doors. You okay? She asked. He nodded, but his jaw was tight. Need to tell you something. They sat in their usual corner. Leonardo fidgeted with his hat, turning it over in his hands, like a confession he wasn't ready to spill. Sarah, there's something you should know before we go any further. Her stomach fluttered. Go further, he flushed. Well, if you want to. She bit her lip softly. I want to. The relief in his eyes nearly melted her. But, he began slowly, you deserve to know the truth. I ain't just bad at reading. I barely can. Letters get mixed up for me. Words blur. Always been that way. She placed her hand over his. Leonardo, that's not something to be ashamed of. I thought it made me less than other men. It doesn't, she said firmly. It makes you human and strong for trying. He swallowed hard. I didn't want you thinking I was dumb. Don't you ever say that. You're smart, capable, kind, and stubborn. All the best things. He blinked, touched by the conviction in her voice. Sarah, he whispered, you make me feel like I can do anything. She moved closer, their knees brushing. You can. Leonardo's gaze dipped to her lips, then back to her eyes. There's something else. Sarah held her breath. I think I'm fallin' for you. Her heartbeat stopped, then raced. Leonardo, he leaned in, forehead touching hers. "Say something, darling. Anything." She exhaled shakily. "I think I'm falling for you too." He cupped her face, gently, reverently. "Can I kiss you?" "Yes," she breathed. Their lips met softly at first, exploring, hesitant, full of tenderness. But the kiss deepened quickly, years of loneliness and unspoken longing pouring into it. His hands held her carefully, as if she were something precious. When they finally pulled away, Sarah's cheeks were flushed, Leonardo's breathing uneven. "I've wanted to do that since the moment I walked in here," he murmured. "Then, maybe next time," she said playfully. "Start with a romance novel, instead of ocean navigation." Fee laughed a warm, full sound she'd never heard from him before. They stayed close the rest of the night, reading little, understanding much more. The next week, the library prepared for its annual community day. Banners, fairy lights, stacks of donated books. It was the busiest Sarah had ever seen the place. Leonardo volunteered to help, surprising everyone with his dedication. "He's here every night," one of the older volunteers whispered. "Must really love reading." Sarah hid a smile, something like that. As the event began, she watched him move through the crowd, talking shyly with townsfolk, fixing decorations, and subtly checking on her every few minutes, as if making sure she wasn't overwhelmed. Near sunset, when the crowd thinned, Leonardo approached with a small book in hand. "Got something for you," he said. She raised an eyebrow. "You brought me a book." "Well, kind of." He handed her the item. Sarah realized it wasn't a book but a journal. Inside, written in careful, determined handwriting, were simple sentences. Things he'd practiced, words he'd learned, messages for her. She read the first one. "I like learning with you." Then, another, "You make me brave." Her heart tightened. By the time she reached the last page, she couldn't hold back tears. "I love you, Sarah." A soft gasp escaped her. Leonardo stepped closer, voice unsteady. "Been practicing for weeks. Wanted to tell you right." She threw her arms around him, and he held her close, relief flooding his expression. "I love you too," she whispered into his chest. He pulled back just enough to kiss her slow, deep, and certain. A kiss that tasted like promises and late nights and soft lamplight in the quiet corners of the library. As the fairy lights twinkled above them, Leonardo took her hand. "Think this place might be my favorite spot in the world now." "Mine too," she said, leaning against him. They stood together as the stars appeared, wrapped in a silence far sweeter than the one they began with. And as the night settled around them, Sarah laughed lightly. "Just to be clear, you're actually going to start reading books now, right?" He grinned. "Only if you're sitting beside me. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Western stories."